Welcome to our first podcast. We have the great pleasure of welcoming Vikki Williams, who is an industry leader in transforming customer and colleague experience, particularly in the financial services in the UK and globally. We're delighted to talk with Vikki today on some of the major trends, drivers in customer service in the financial services sector. Vikki, do you want to briefly just talk to us a bit about your career so far? What have been some of the highlights?
Sure. Thank you very much for the invitation. Delighted to join you. I have been in financial services for 17 plus years, and I joined financial services from a logistics business, actually. So it was quite a shift after 10 years in logistics to move to financial services, but it's been wonderful. I haven't regretted a moment. What's been fantastic is I've had so many opportunities to work with so many different types of organisations across all operational areas. I guess the driving force for me is the opportunity to make a difference to customer experience, the opportunity to make a difference to colleague experience within organisations, and to help organisations to transform their businesses, make them more efficient, make them more effective. Like I say, it's all about the customer at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So with all your experience, what have you seen in terms of what are the main trends in transforming customer experience in this sector over the last 10 years?
Over the last 10 years, it's been really quite cyclical, as you can expect. There's always a lot of focus on efficiency and effectiveness. So how can services be delivered in a more cost-effective way? But more recently, a lot of the focus is on customer outcomes, ensuring that customers are getting the service that they expect and they deserve, and that the appropriate channels are set up for them to be able to interact with an organisation.
So when you talk about customer outcomes, what exactly are we talking about? And what is this sort of a regulatory change or something that's at the industry level?
Sure, there is a regulatory change called consumer duty, which has been brought in by the FCA. So all firms, as of today, actually, should have a plan in relation to consumer duty. It comes into effect on the 31st of July, 2023, but it's very focused on fair customer outcomes, fair value for customers, ensuring that vulnerable customers are not disadvantaged, and ensuring that customer support is available and is frictionless for customers to access.
And this seems like quite a significant introduction of this regulatory duty. Are firms, in your view, from your experience, are they prepared for this? What have they been doing?
So, I mean, it is significant, but most well-run firms will have a really fantastic foundation of all of this in place already. This is around evidencing and crystallising how this works across different businesses. The FCA will be expecting to see MI and information that relates to the consumer duty being fulfilled. And I think that for some smaller business, it's that evidencing that it's going to take some time to pull together. Like I say, most firms are really well run and are customer focused, but it's around being able to demonstrate that and to articulate that to the regulator. Are people well set up for it? Yes and no. I think, like I say, it's going to require people to to pull all of that information together and to be really comfortable and clear that they have identified any gaps in their approaches and are able to fill them in time for when the duty comes into play.
Yeah, and so what sort of data would they need to evidence that they are delivering good outcomes for consumers?
Yeah, so In respect of new products, for example, ensure that products are understood, that fair value has been considered prior to those products being launched and set up. For existing products, considering whether they are offering value to customers across all of the different customer demographics. From a vulnerable customer point of view, looking at vulnerable customers in different groups to ensure that they're not being disadvantaged. And from a support point of view, making sure that for example, something as simple as I say simple, as an IVR in a contact centre, that it's not too complicated to navigate, that wait times for customers when they're trying to get hold of people in contact centres, whether that's chat or voice, that they aren't too long, and that people are able to get the help and support that they need. Also counts to complaints data is really, really important, and really having good understanding of root cause analysis in relation to complaints, so that businesses can continually improve the service that they offer to customers.
Yeah, so are the current processes of collecting this data still quite manual? I mean, are we seeing some changes in terms of using technology to make the process easier, basically?
Yeah, I think it depends on the business, and really depends on the business. I think for some smaller, mid-sized businesses, it's definitely more manual than it is in some of the bigger organisations who will have big systems such as Salesforce or NICE or Medallia, for example. They that where those are in place, it's a little bit easier, but not everyone has those. Getting to that data and being able to act upon that data is really, really important.
And so maybe, what sort of barrier for smaller firms in this regulated sector to access those current products? Are they too expensive, or just, what seems to be the kind of challenge?
Well, the barriers are, definitely expense, implementation time, and complexity of organisations. Smaller businesses will probably be looking for something a bit more accessible, a bit more fleet of foot, something that they can implement quickly and easily in order to meet some of these needs.
So under the FCA's consumer duty, smaller businesses are also covered. There are no exemptions. Is that my understanding?
Yes, that is your understanding is correct. But there is a proportionality kind of approach here. I think that smaller businesses, like I say, most of them are really, really well run, but it's about being able to articulate and evidence some of the requirements of consumer duty, and that's where smaller businesses that are startups or scale-ups might not be used to doing some of that.
But I guess with startups, they can move more quickly, and so if they had the right sort of solutions before them, that might
Yeah, absolutely. So startups can integrate systems more rapidly, and if they've got the right solutions to hand, then this the requirements of consumer duty can be met, and I guess that proportionality piece, it doesn't need to be onerous. This can be achieved in a really practical and pragmatic way.
Yeah, and you've had, as you said with your CV, you've worked for bigger companies in the sector, and also sort of more very successful startups. And so for the successful startups that have a growing customer base, I mean, it's also, I guess, not just regulatory requirements, but I guess they do have a strong motivation to also deliver excellent customer outcomes.
Absolutely, of course. I think. Let's hope that all businesses have a strong motivation to deliver excellent customer outcomes. What the FCA is looking to do is to have the evidence and to see that demonstrated really, really clearly. But Yeah, I mean, that's how businesses, more and more need to differentiate themselves, by providing excellent service. There's a lot of products available out there in the market. I think in FS, there's been 400, startups. But it's about differentiating themselves and making sure that the service that provided as they grow doesn't deteriorate and continues to be excellent and market leading.
Yeah, and you've in terms of the consumer duty applies to, well, firms offering products and services to consumers. Is there a similar kind of duty or something that applies to smaller, like if the customers are small businesses, and what are the challenges, for FS players with respect to small, if their clients are mainly small businesses?
Yeah, so consumer duty, you're quite right, applies to retail only. In terms of providing service to business customers, over the last number of years, there's been a lot of focus on business banking and improving it and improving the diversity of availability in the marketplace. I'm not aware of a consumer duty equivalent right now, but it goes without saying that businesses are obviously absolutely focused on providing great service in order to grow their business customer base. It's a competitive area, and I think there's a great opportunity for organisations to focus on those customers and give them a fantastic service.
So in your experience, what would be like 3 top tips for some of these smaller but fast-growing, I guess they could be fintech companies or just other financial services companies, in terms of improving customer service?
Ensure that you've got the right tools in place to capture root cause of any failings, because that only then can you improve, first of all. Secondly, make sure that as you scale, that customer service doesn't deteriorate, because those customers came to you for a reason. Often it's service because some of the legacy organisations or within the UK aren't giving them what they need. So do not let that service deteriorate, and also continue to be fleet of foot and pragmatic and listen to those customers and their needs and the things that they need to run their business better.
Yeah, and would they also look to not just direct customer inquiries, but they should also look at other forms of customer feedback, and where would they find that, and what would be the most useful?
Yeah, so I think within consumer duty, some of the suggestions are net promoter scores, customer focus groups, customer feedback following transactions, and feedback, dynamic feedback as people are using the services that are provided. There's lots of examples of some of the neobanks really listening to customer feedback and making changes to their products almost real time as they get feedback from customers.
And is this feedback also just like on social media and other sources besides sort of direct inquiries?
Yeah, absolutely, across every channel. So whether it's chat, social, telephony, just email, just any channel, it has to be all bought. And that's one of the challenges, I guess, bringing all of that feedback together and then coming up with a meaningful action plan to address any customer concerns. And that's where the root cause analysis comes in, that can help drive exceptional performance within a customer service or a customer experience environment.
And we talked a bit earlier about sort of inefficiencies, and I mean, what are still some of the main inefficient pain points that even big organizations, the big banks that you've worked for, are facing in customer service? I mean, let alone smaller companies that may not have the resources.
Yeah, so, I mean, businesses, financial services is a complicated business. When running a customer service department, a colleague on the front line can be faced with any number of hundreds of different flavors of inquiries, and is expected to be able to answer those for the customer when they speak to them, or when they chat to them, or when they're responding to a social media query. So it's a complicated business. As a result of lots of people, people churning in contact centres, not all colleagues have all of the right information to hand, and they're unable to help customers in a rapid way. So I think that's one of the challenges. It's complicated. We're expecting our human beings who are interacting with our customers to know a lot, and anything we can do to help them and put the right information in their hands to help customers is key. The second thing is, how can we help customers to self-serve themselves? Even in some of the smaller businesses I've worked in, self-serve or FAQs, so that people can help themselves very quickly get out of date. So constantly looking at FAQs, constantly looking at self-serve journeys to make sure that customers can do what they want. I see it all of the time, lots of experience of customers making contact with the organisation through whatever channel to do something that they could very, very easily do for themselves. And you have to ask yourself why. Why hasn't the customer been able to self-serve? What haven't they found? Is the journey too difficult or too complicated? Is that self-serve path hidden for that customer, or not easily accessible? So they're just some of the things that I see. I think that I've never worked in the perfect organisation with a perfect operation. I haven't. There is always room to improve. There is always room to do things differently and make things easier for customers and for colleagues who are helping those customers.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Vikki. And what, in terms of just maybe like, instead of going to self-serve, I mean, is also a segment of customers that just want to talk to someone, or get an email back, or rather than go on a chatbot that doesn't really get them the answer. So what are there customers who want that human interaction? Or
I think human interaction is essential. So, self-serve is great for some of the more simple interactions that happen within financial services. But there are always times, when customers need to talk to another human, either because it's a really complex query, or because it's quite an emotive query. It could be, relating to financial crime, for example. Customers, when they think that they've been a victim of financial crime, it's absolutely terrifying, and that's when they need to talk to other human beings. Similarly, if that customer is vulnerable and may need support using accessing services, in the case of bereavement, perhaps, then that's or power of attorney. These are they're the I guess moments of truth for organisations when talking to a human being that's really well equipped and able to help the customer. That's when things really shine through from a service perspective. But there are a lot of interactions that can be automated because of their innate simplicity. But some things, absolutely, you need to have that interaction that's face to face, video to video, human to human, in whatever channel is most appropriate.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm really often sick of just trying to get an answer from chatbots. So if they were only smarter chatbots out there, or something else that actually could just get me my solution quickly. So but it's very interesting in terms of you mentioned earlier about also the importance of supporting customer service employees as well, and the important role of empowering them, whichever solution that you adopt.
Yes, absolutely. So I share your view on chatbots, but I do think they have a place, and I do think that as technology develops and grows, that will become an increasingly important part of that interface with the customer. But I think there's an awfully long way to go, to be honest. Sorry, I forgot the second part of your
Oh,
question.
it's about empowering customer
Yeah.
service teams. So like, when you do introduce new technology, new solutions, from our research, I think that empowerment element is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, supporting customers is a complicated job. Even in the most simple organizations who maybe only have one or two product lines, we expect our customer service folk to know an awful lot. There could be there's a myriad number of complicated reasons that a customer could call in, and they can a myriad, lots and lots of different questions that they could ask. So we can provide information to the customer service agents or colleagues easily, and help them navigate the knowledge base of a business. Then that is tremendously valuable, and anything to make their job a bit easier, better. And that might be restructuring, that might be simplifying what we're expecting each colleague to know. I know certainly splitting out different operations can work at times, though increasingly also we can't forget that customers expect almost a one-stop shop. If they've got multiple products with us, and they've got queries, they expect to speak to one person rather than be passed around. And organizations don't want to pass customers around either, because that just increases inefficiency.
Yeah, and I guess in terms of also in terms of collaborating with other departments within an organization. So, we mentioned the consumer duty and finding the root causes. Do you think organizations today, particularly in financial services, are encountering a lot of problems in terms of customer service, talking to legal, compliance, and trying to work out what the problem is? Is this something that also can be a challenge that can be addressed with the current solutions out there?
Yeah, so as businesses grow, I know some businesses are very small and they've been used to being all sitting together and talking to each other. As they grow, or off the back of the pandemic, certain departments became a bit more siloed, and that collaboration can be really, really difficult. And what customers don't want to do is wait for a response to a query that they might have. And so ensuring that different departments are connected, have the same service level expectations and requirements, and are all focused on the customer in the same way is really, really important. Culturally, that can often become quite disjointed. So being able to hook all of that up and making sure that that people are able to talk and collaborate rapidly is really important to get the right answer for customers.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Vikki. So as we wrap up, I just have one more question in terms of looking to the future. If you're a futurist, in terms of the financial services sector or just other sectors generally, where do you think we will be going in the next 5-10 years? And is technology going to be a very important part of that future direction? I mean, what can we expect for the industry? Let's say 10 years, in 10 years, where we'll find ourselves?
Yeah, so obviously, absolutely, technology is going to be really important and really key in helping to simplify customer journeys, customer experience, and also colleague journeys and colleague experience. So any technology that can help will be important. We've already mentioned chatbots, AI, automation. That will be key, but it has to be done in the right way. There's already some quite well documented fails where some of that technology has been deployed. So it has to be for the right thing, for the right reason. But humans and human-to-human contact will still always be important when it's a critical moment for a customer. I think we will just see a build and a development of where we are today. As some things are automated, and some things are stay firmly rooted in that human to human contact. And I look forward to seeing the development. Really, I think there's such opportunity.
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, there you go. There we go. There's a problem with technology too. So I think that's probably brings us to a nice conclusion for our podcast. And it's really such a great pleasure to hear, Vikki, your insights on just your experience in the sector and really where customer service transformation is going. So thank you very much for joining us, and we very much look forward to welcoming you back in another future episode.
Thank you very much.